Technology advances rapidly, so new products are quickly obsolete once they reach their intended market. Current technologies, such as mobile phones and laptops, can accomplish many of the same tasks as earlier equipment, but in smaller and more portable sizes. So, we're taking a nostalgic trip down memory lane looking at some of the largest, most significant, and most memorable devices of the previous century that have become obsolete, antiquated, or irrelevant. Number 10. Rotary telephones and wired landlines. Another piece of technology is on the verge of becoming obsolete after being superseded by a pocket-sized computer. The wired telephone goes back to 1844 and has undergone several versions in the following years. One such variation was the rotary dial telephone, which had a dial set in a circular arrangement requiring the user to turn the dial for each digit of the phone number they were attempting to contact. Rotary phones are no longer used except as a curiosity. Wired landlines are closely behind, as cell phones are more accessible, personal, and mobile. Number 9. Walkmans, the portable music player. If you wanted to listen to music back then, you could use tape players ranging from portable Walkmans to larger amplifiers with massive speakers. There was no idea of Bluetooth or CDs. People would buy cassettes of their favorite artists and play them on a player that rolled that nostalgic black tape. You know, the one we all prayed wouldn't come loose and have to be rolled back into place with a pencil. The Walkman was the first pocket-sized cassette player. It was released in Japan in 1979 and was named the Product of the Decade by the International Institute for Industrial Advancement. This gadget was also the first electronic device to be granted a royal warrant for distribution to the British royal family. This widget was viral then, changing how people listened to music and spawning an entire generation of individuals known as Walkman heads. Number 8. Tamagotchis, the digital pets of the 90s. Bandai, a Japanese toy maker, introduced the Tamagotchi, a virtual pet, in 1996. It was a pocket-sized electronic keychain toy that demanded continual care and attention from its owner. It flourished if you fed and cared for the virtual creature shown on a small LCD screen, using the device's few buttons. However, if neglected, it would die, providing an unexpectedly bitter early lesson in loss for both children and adults. This gadget was created to teach youngsters responsibility and how to care for others, including pets and plants. Number 7. Game Boy, the portable video game console. Playing games on consoles is popular today, but back then, children got their first portable gaming experience with the Game Boy, the world's first handheld video game machine. The Game Boy, introduced in Japan in 1989, allowed users to play their favorite video games while on the road. It also opened the path for several other portable video game systems. It is fair to claim that the Game Boy brought millions of people to the world of video games and inspired a new generation of gamers. Number 6. VHS and VCR players, the home movie players. Watching a movie is no longer a huge problem thanks to the availability of various local and international streaming services. However, there were no streaming services in the 1990s. The only way to watch movies, other than going to the movies, was to buy a video cassette similar to an audio cassette and play it on a specific player known as the VCR, video cassette recorder, which could also record. As the name implies, these gadgets let consumers watch films on their televisions. The VHS player was first launched in Japan in 1976, and then in the United States in mid-77. Number 5. Pagers or beepers. Pagers were created and constructed in the 1950s, but became popular in the 1980s. Emergency services, physicians, and safety professionals frequently use these one-way communication devices, which needed to be accessible at all times, even while away from a landline phone. The development of cell phones in the early 2000s reduced the usage of pagers and beepers, but because of their durability, resilience, and excellent coverage, they continued to be used for several more years. For example, Canada was still paying up to $18.5 million for its pager service in 2013. Number 4. Laserdisc. Laserdisc was a niche technology format popular among videophiles and film fans. Launched in 1978, it was the first optical video storage technology, but it failed to reach broad adoption due to the high cost of players. Laserdisc provided higher quality video than VHS and Betamax, and the technology that powered it subsequently evolved into compact disc, DVD, and Blu-ray. Despite never becoming widespread, the last video titles were released in this format in 2001, with 16.8 million Laserdisc players sold globally. Number 3. Digital Versatile Disc, DVD. Panasonic, Philips, Sony, and Toshiba created the digital video format Max Pixel, which evolved into DVD. Its large storage capacity made it an ideal medium for computer files, software, and high-quality video. DVDs offered various advantages over earlier magnetic storage technologies, including greater storage capacity and endurance, which meant the disc could last up to 100 years. With improved internet connections, video streaming technologies, and even superior formats such as Blu-ray, including 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray on the market, DVD is undoubtedly reaching the end of its existence. Meanwhile, alternative DVD formats such as the 1080p capable Blu-ray competitor HD DVD stayed on, similar to the famous Laserdisc. Number 2. Floppy disks. Floppy disks were a data storage media that first debuted in the 1970s. The first was the 8-inch floppy disk, which could store just 80 kilobytes of data. As floppy disks became thinner, their storage capacity increased, and by the mid-1980s, the 3.5-inch floppy disk could hold a respectable 1.44 megabytes. Unfortunately, floppy disks were easily corrupted by heat and magnets. By the 1990s, computer programs required many disks for most applications. Adobe Photoshop required over a dozen disks to execute. Therefore, CD-ROMs took control. Most software programs currently use the floppy disk as a save icon. Number 1. Compact cassette tapes. Compact cassette tapes were the audio equivalent of VHS and Betamax cassette tapes. First launched in 1968, they employed the same magnetic tape technology to provide inexpensive audio to the public. Among their many uses, they were primarily used as either blank tapes for recording, by dictaphone or boombox, for example, or pre-recorded music. Cassette tapes became popular in the 1980s, but by the 1990s, they were outsold by compact discs, which quickly became the standard format. Nonetheless, cassettes continued to sell until 2001, when they finally died, at least in pre-recorded varieties. Blank cassettes continued to be offered until 2012. In their heyday, cassettes sold up to 442 million in the United States alone. Although we may miss them a little, let's not forget the moment we spent wrestling cassette players and having to twirl cassettes back together with a pencil. That's all for today. If you liked this video, smash that like button and subscribe. Help us keep our channel alive so we can bring you more awesome content. Catch you in the next video.